Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. It was a crisp spring morning in Hope Valley. The kind of morning where the air carried a delicate mixture of blooming flowers and the earthy scent of freshly tilled soil. The sun had just risen, casting golden hues across the quiet town, which was slowly coming alive with the sounds of clattering pots, creaking porch swings, and the distant laughter of children. The town had been buzzing with anticipation for weeks now. Whispers of a grand family reunion had spread like wildfire, drawing everyone back, some who had been away for years, and others who had always been near but somehow never fully appreciated the true essence of Hope Valley's heart. Elizabeth Thornton had been up before the sun, her mind a whirlpool of excitement and nerves. Today wasn't just any day. It was a reunion of not just families but hearts that had intertwined in countless ways over the years. She smoothed her dress, a soft pastel blue that mirrored the sky above, and looked out across the town square, where banners and bunting had been strung from the lampposts. Each one carried messages of welcome, love, and nostalgia, and Elizabeth felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was as if the town itself was reaching out to hug its inhabitants. Old and new alike, Nathan Grant, Elizabeth's husband, was busy in the kitchen of the town hall, helping Mrs. McCarthy set up platters of homemade pies, sandwiches, and fresh bread. Nathan's sleeves were rolled up, a smudge of flour on his cheek, and his eyes sparkled with a kind of happiness that came from simply being surrounded by people he loved. Elizabeth watched him for a moment, noting the way he laughed heartily at a story Mrs. McCarthy was telling. There was an ease between them, a rhythm that had been built over years of shared joys, challenges, and quiet, tender moments. Today, that rhythm would extend to the entire town, or at least to all those who had called Hope Valley home at some point. The first arrivals trickled in by mid-morning. Abigail Stanton, carrying a basket of her famed cinnamon rolls, was greeted with hugs and exclamations of delight. Rosemary Coulter, with her usual flair and sharp wit, immediately began coordinating seating arrangements and activities, determined that no one would feel left out. Henry Gowan, who had somehow found a way to sneak in despite his somewhat questionable reputation, arrived with a sheepish smile and a twinkle of mischief in his eyes. The town's beloved schoolteacher, Jack Thornton, Elizabeth's brother, had come too, bringing with him a group of children whose giggles and chatter added a vibrant energy to the gathering. As the morning progressed, the town square slowly transformed into a lively tableau of reunion. Long tables were set with checkered cloths, jars of wildflowers, and flickering candles that seemed almost ceremonious in the bright daylight. Laughter echoed off the brick buildings, mingling with the faint strains of a piano someone had thoughtfully placed near the gazebo. Children chased one another around the fountain, their squeals of delight harmonizing with the murmur of adults catching up after years apart. Stories flowed easily, some familiar, some new, each one weaving the fabric of shared history tighter together. Elizabeth found herself moving through the crowd, stopping to embrace old friends and acquaintances she hadn't seen in years. There was Jesse, whose eyes lit up as he recounted tales of his recent travels. Lucas, who had returned from the nearby city, offered a handshake that turned quickly into a friendly hug, revealing how much he had missed the simple, grounding nature of small-town life. Even newcomers like Faith Carter, who had only recently moved into Hope Valley, were drawn into the fold, their laughter merging seamlessly with the collective joy of the reunion. Amidst the chatter, Elizabeth noticed a familiar figure standing quietly near the edge of the square. It was Rosemary's son, Charlie, who had grown into a young man over the past few years. His eyes, so like his mother's, held a mixture of excitement and nerves. Elizabeth approached him with a smile, sensing that this reunion was as much about rekindling old bonds as it was about forming new ones. "Charlie," she said softly, "it's so good to see you. How have you been?" Charlie's smile widened, and he stepped forward, shaking her hand before giving her a brief hug. "I've been well, Miss Thornton. It feels strange, but wonderful, to be back here. Everything's just as I remember, but somehow bigger, fuller. The day continued with games, music, and shared meals. There were races for the children, piting contests for the brave, and a storytelling circle where the elders recounted tales of Hope Valley's past. Nathan and Elizabeth moved through the crowd hand in hand, their presence a quiet anchor amidst the whirl of activity. It was in moments like these that Elizabeth truly understood the meaning of home. Home was not just a place, but a feeling, a tapestry woven from countless interactions, memories, and acts of kindness. By late afternoon, a hush fell over the gathering as the reunion's central event was about to begin, the collective memory-sharing session. Each family, each individual was invited to share a cherished memory, story that encapsulated their experience in Hope Valley. It was a tradition that had been started decades ago, a way of reminding everyone that while people came and went, the town's heart remained constant. Pulsating with the lives it had touched, Elizabeth took a deep breath as she stepped to the podium, Nathan's hand finding hers in a reassuring squeeze. She began with a story of her own childhood, of the first time she had wandered into the town square and felt an inexplicable sense of belonging. Her voice trembled slightly, but as she looked out over the faces of friends, family, and neighbors, it steadied. One by one, others followed. Jesse spoke of adventures that had taken him far from Hope Valley but always brought him back. Abigail shared memories of laughter and tears in the Stanton household. And even Henry Gowan recounted a moment of unexpected kindness that had changed his life. The sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the town square, and the air grew cooler. Lanterns were lit, their soft glow adding a magical quality to the evening. Music began to play again, this time softer, more intimate. Couples danced, children twirled, and friends gathered in small clusters, sharing whispered jokes and gentle reassurances. Elizabeth found herself pulled into a waltz with Nathan, their movements slow and deliberate, each step a testament to years of shared experiences and unwavering support. As the night deepened, the reunion showed no signs of slowing. The air was filled with the scent of fresh-baked bread, roasted meats, and sweet pastries. Stories continued, laughter echoed, and hearts beat in unison, celebrating the undeniable truth that Hope Valley was more than a town. It was a living, breathing entity, sustained by the love, compassion, and connection of its people. And amidst it all, Elizabeth realized something profound. Reunions like these were not just about the past. They were about reaffirming bonds, creating new memories, and embracing the promise of tomorrow. For in Hope Valley, the heart was never truly divided. It only grew larger, stronger, and more vibrant with every reunion, every smile, and every shared moment of joy. As the final lanterns flickered and the last strains of music faded into the night, Elizabeth and Nathan stood side by side, looking out at the faces of those they loved. There were tears, yes, but also laughter and a deep, abiding sense of peace. Hope Valley had welcomed them all once more, and in doing so, it had reminded them of a truth that would carry them forward, that no matter where life took them, the heart of Hope Valley would always be a home they could return to, a family they could embrace, and a story that was far from over. The night ended with hugs and promises of future visits, each person leaving with a renewed sense of belonging. And as Elizabeth turned to Nathan, she whispered, This is why we come home." Nathan smiled, brushing a stray curl from her face. "Yes, Elizabeth, and we'll keep coming home again and again, as long as we have each other and this town." And somewhere in the quiet of the now empty square, the heart of Hope Valley beat on steady, strong, and eternal. As twilight settled over Hope Valley, the town seemed to transform into an enchanted world, where lanterns hung from every tree and gentle lights reflected in the rippling fountain at the center of the square. Shadows danced on the brick walls, mingling with the soft glow of lanterns. And the murmurs of conversation now carried a more intimate tone. People had begun to cluster in smaller groups, lingering near the tables, the gazebo, and along the edges of the square, drawn together by shared histories and whispered memories. Elizabeth and Nathan moved slowly among them, aware that tonight, beneath the veneer of festive laughter, there lay a tapestry of stories waiting to unravel. They had been prepared for smiles and hugs, for laughter and cheer. But what neither of them had anticipated was the quiet tension that sometimes threaded through even the happiest of gatherings. Reunions had a way of unearthing not only joyous memories but also old regrets, hidden desires, and long-suppressed feelings that the years had neither healed nor erased. Jesse had wandered toward the edge of the square, his gaze lingering on a figure leaning against the railing of the town hall's balcony. It was Faith Carter, who had moved to Hope Valley only recently, but had already made her presence felt among the town's tight-knit community. There was a subtle hesitation in her posture, a quiet vulnerability, as though she were both drawn to the energy of the reunion and wary of stepping too far into its fold. Jesse approached her with a gentle smile, sensing the delicate tension. "Faith," he said softly, "you look different somehow, in the best possible way. The town suits you." Faith's eyes flickered upward, meeting his with a mixture of surprise and guarded amusement. "I suppose I feel different," she admitted. "It's overwhelming, in a way I didn't expect. Everyone seems so connected, and I'm not sure where I fit in." Jesse offered a reassuring nod. "You belong here more than you know. Sometimes it just takes a moment to feel it fully." His words carried a weight that went beyond simple encouragement. They were a bridge across the subtle distance that had been growing between her sense of self and the collective heartbeat of Hope Valley. Faith smiled, a faint blush rising to her cheeks. And for the first time that evening, she felt the warmth of true acceptance. Meanwhile, across the square, a more complicated reunion was unfolding. Rosemary Coulter had spotted her estranged sister-in-law, Catherine, who had arrived unannounced. Her presence an unexpected ripple in the carefully choreographed evening. Catherine's arrival had drawn curious glances, and whispers swirled among the guests. The tension was palpable. While the townsfolk were accustomed to handling disagreements with grace, old rivalries and grudges sometimes lingered beneath the polite veneer of civil conversation. Rosemary approached cautiously, her expression a careful balance of cordiality and guarded curiosity. "Catherine," she said, her voice even, "I didn't expect to see you here." Catherine's lips curved in a measured smile. "I wanted to come," she replied. "It's been years, and I thought it was time to reconnect." There was a subtle edge to her words, a fragile mixture of sincerity and the remnants of past resentments. The two women stood in measured silence, careful dance of glances and half-smiles. Behind them, the hum of conversation continued, as though the town itself were determined to carry on, unbothered by the undercurrents of tension. Yet Elizabeth, who had been passing nearby, sensed the shift in energy. She stepped over her presence, a gentle intervention, and placed a hand on Rosemary's arm. "Perhaps tonight," she said softly, "we can leave the past behind, even for a little while. This is about family, about connection." Rosemary's eyes softened, and she nodded. "You're right," she admitted. "Let's try." Catherine mirrored the gesture, and for a fleeting moment, there was an unspoken understanding, a fragile bridge across years of distance. Meanwhile, the children had begun a more organized game near the fountain, supervised by Jack Thornton. Their laughter and squeals offered a stark contrast to the more nuanced adult conversations, a reminder that the town's future was built upon the innocence and joy of its youngest members. Among them, Charlie Coulter and Sarah Stanton found themselves paired for a relay race, their competitive spirits masking the tender attraction that had begun to blossom between them. Each glance, each subtle gesture seemed to carry the weight of unspoken feelings, and the warmth in Charlie's eyes did not go unnoticed by Sarah as the night deepened. A small stage had been set up near the gazebo for musical performances. Abigail Stanton's eldest son, Thomas, took the stage first, strumming his guitar with a steady rhythm that drew the town's attention. Soon Jesse joined him, adding a soulful voice that resonated through the lantern-lit square. The music had a way of weaving together the disparate threads of the evening, uniting past and present, joy and sorrow, laughter and unspoken longing. Elizabeth and Nathan stood together near the edge of the crowd, watching as the townsfolk responded to the music. It was a rare moment of pause in the otherwise lively evening, a shared breath of serenity. Nathan leaned closer, whispering, "I didn't know music could make a reunion feel even more like home." Elizabeth smiled, resting her head briefly on his shoulder. "It does," she replied. "It reminds us of what we share, the stories, the memories, the heartbeats that tie us together. And sometimes it reminds us of what we've been missing, not far from them." An unexpected conversation was unfolding between Henry Gowan and Abigail Stanton. Henry, ever the reluctant participant in heartfelt moments, had approached Abigail with an unusual sincerity. "I never thought I'd say this," he confessed, "but I've missed this. I've missed the connections, the warmth of a community that actually cares." Abigail regarded him thoughtfully, sensing the honesty beneath the words. "It's never too late to be part of something meaningful, Henry," she said softly. "Sometimes you just need the right moment to realize it." Henry nodded, a flicker of gratitude and vulnerability crossing his face. Perhaps tonight is that moment. As the evening stretched on, the reunion took on an almost dreamlike quality. Lanterns reflected on the surface of the fountain. Children's laughter mingled with the soft strumming of guitars, and couples danced in the gentle glow. Conversations flowed seamlessly from past to present, from regrets to hopes, from whispered secrets to loud proclamations of joy. Elizabeth found herself wandering toward the gazebo, where a circle had formed for storytelling. Each person shared tales of love, hardship, and triumph, their voices carrying both the weight of memory and the lightness of hope. It was here that long-hidden emotions surfaced: a confession from an old friend, a heartfelt apology, a moment of reconciliation that had been years in the making. The town listened, absorbed, and responded with empathy and encouragement, reinforcing the unspoken understanding that Hope Valley was a sanctuary, a place where hearts could heal and bonds could be renewed. Amidst the warmth of laughter and tears, a quiet moment emerged between Elizabeth and Faith. Faith, emboldened by the evening's gentle magic, confided in Elizabeth her lingering insecurities about belonging. Elizabeth listened intently, offering words of reassurance and connection that seemed to bridge the gap between newcomer and old friend. "You are part of this town now," Elizabeth said firmly, "and part of our family. Never doubt that." Faith's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, and she felt a sense of acceptance she hadn't experienced in years. The night wasn't without its surprises. Lucas, whose life had been recently upended by unexpected challenges in the city, found himself drawn to the music and energy of the reunion. Amidst the crowd, he encountered an old flame, their brief reunion sparking both nostalgia and unresolved tension. They spoke in quiet tones, their conversation punctuated by stolen glances and hesitant smiles, leaving both of them to ponder the possibilities of rekindled connection. As midnight approached, the final moments of the reunion were marked by a sense of quiet reflection. Families gathered together, exchanging hugs and heartfelt farewells, each person carrying with them the warmth of belonging and the promise of return. Elizabeth and Nathan lingered in the square, taking in the soft glow of lanterns, the distant laughter of children, and the lingering melodies of music that had filled the evening. Elizabeth felt a deep, abiding sense of gratitude. This reunion had been more than just a gathering. It had been a reaffirmation of life, of community, and of the enduring power of love and connection. Nathan's hand found hers once more, their fingers entwined in silent agreement. "Tonight has been perfect," he said, his voice low and full of emotion. Elizabeth nodded, resting her head against his shoulder. "Yes, it has," she whispered, "and it's only the beginning. There's still so much more to come, so many stories, so many moments waiting to be shared." And as the last lantern flickered and the square grew quiet, Hope Valley held within its heart the memories of the evening, a tapestry of laughter, tears, reconciliation, and love that would echo through the town for years to come. It was a reminder that home was not merely a place, but a living, breathing entity shaped by the lives and hearts of those who inhabited it. The night deepened, wrapping Hope Valley in a cloak of silver moonlight and the soft hum of cicadas. The lanterns flickered gently in the evening breeze, casting delicate patterns across the brick pathways and town square. Though the formal activities of the reunion had concluded, the energy of connection and shared history lingered, drawing people together in informal clusters, quiet conversations, and stolen moments of intimacy. Elizabeth and Nathan lingered near the fountain, watching the soft reflections of lantern light dance on the water's surface. Nathan held Elizabeth's hand, his thumb brushing lightly over her knuckles in a gesture of steady reassurance. "It's incredible," he murmured. "All of these people, all these stories. It feels like the town itself is alive tonight." Elizabeth nodded, her gaze sweeping over the square. Faces glowed with laughter and quiet reflection alike. And she could feel the collective heartbeat of Hope Valley, pulsing through the cobblestones, the fountain, the very air. "It is," she agreed. "It's more than just a reunion. It's a reminder of what we've built here, and of the bonds that can never truly be broken." Across the square, a quieter, more intimate scene was unfolding. Lucas and his old flame, Claire, had retreated to a shadowed corner near the gazebo. Their conversation, initially tentative, had begun to unravel layers of history and unspoken feelings. Lucas's voice carried a mixture of nostalgia and hope. "I never thought we'd have a moment like this again," he admitted. "But being here, it makes me realize that some connections, some people, never truly leave your heart." Claire's eyes glistened in the lantern light, her lips curving in a tentative smile. "I've felt the same," she confessed, "all these years. And yet, being back here, being surrounded by everyone we care about, it feels possible to start again." Their hands met, fingers entwining, and in that quiet gesture, years of longing and unresolved emotion found a delicate resolution. Around them, the sounds of the reunion faded, replaced by the gentle whispers of the night, as though Hope Valley itself was giving them permission to embrace what had been left unspoken for so long. Meanwhile, a more surprising turn of events was taking place near the perimeter of the square. Henry Gowan, emboldened by the warmth of the evening and the acceptance he had begun to feel, found himself approaching Abigail Stanton with an unexpected honesty. "Abigail," he began, his usual bravado tempered by genuine vulnerability. I've spent years running from responsibility, from connection. But tonight, seeing everyone, seeing how life can be meaningful, I realize I want to be part of it. I want to be part of this family." Abigail's eyes softened, a tender smile forming. "Henry," she said, "it takes courage to admit that. You've always had a place here, even if it took time for you to see it. Perhaps tonight is the night you finally embrace it." Henry nodded, a rare, heartfelt smile breaking across his face. It was a small but profound moment of redemption, the kind of transformation that Hope Valley had seen countless times over the years, proof that the heart could change, and that forgiveness and acceptance were always possible. Back at the center of the square, the children had gathered one last time for a final game, their laughter echoing under the moonlit sky. Charlie Coulter and Sarah Stanton, flushed with exertion and excitement, lingered as the game concluded, sharing shy smiles and subtle touches that spoke volumes of budding affection. Elizabeth observed them with a gentle smile, her heart swelling at the sight of young love blossoming amidst the joyful chaos. It was a reminder that the town's legacy extended beyond memories. It was alive in the new generation, ready to carry forward the values of compassion, connection, and courage that had always defined Hope Valley. As the night wore on, the reunion reached its most poignant moment, the collective reflection of the town's shared journey. Elizabeth took a deep breath, stepping onto the small platform near the fountain once more. This time it was not for storytelling, but for a simple invitation, for each person to share a hope for the future, a wish or a promise to those gathered. One by one, voices rose, soft and sincere. Jesse spoke of dreams he hoped to chase, now anchored by the love and community of Hope Valley. Abigail shared a hope for continued unity and support among neighbors. Rosemary, with a quiet dignity, offered words of reconciliation and forgiveness. her sister Catherine standing nearby in tentative agreement. Even Henry Gowan, who had spent much of his life skirting the edges of propriety, expressed a heartfelt desire to contribute meaningfully to the town's well-being. Elizabeth felt a lump rise in her throat as she listened. Each voice, each sentiment was a thread woven into the fabric of Hope Valley, creating a tapestry of hope, resilience, and love. Nathan squeezed her hand, their shared silence acknowledging the profundity of the moment. Then, as if on cue, the night sky opened up with a soft cascade of stars, their brilliance mirrored in the eyes of those gathered. Lanterns swayed gently, casting shadows that danced like ephemeral spirits across the square. The air was thick with emotion, a delicate balance of joy, nostalgia, and anticipation for what was yet to come in this quiet magic. Elizabeth realized that reunions were never truly about the past alone. They were about connection, renewal, and the reaffirmation of the bonds that made life meaningful. Every hug, every shared story, every glance and gesture had served as a reminder that Hope Valley's heart was unbreakable. It was a heart that could carry generations, that could mend wounds, and that could hold space for both love and forgiveness. In equal measure, the final moments of the evening brought intimate reunions that had been long overdue. Lucas and Claire, hand in hand, walked slowly through the square, the soft murmur of conversation falling away as if the night itself had gifted them a bubble of privacy. Charlie and Sarah lingered near the fountain, their fingers brushing in a tentative but promising affirmation of young love. Rosemary and Catherine exchanged a final, lingering, silent acknowledgement of the fragile but real bond they were willing to nurture. And Henry, emboldened by newfound clarity, made his way back to Abigail, shared smile of understanding and mutual respect lighting their faces as the lanterns were extinguished and the last guests began to make their way home. Elizabeth and Nathan remained near the fountain, savoring the serenity of the moment. The square, once filled with laughter, music, and chatter, now held a quiet peace, a testament to the night's triumphs, reconciliations, and quiet revelations. Nathan wrapped an arm around Elizabeth, drawing her close. "It's incredible," he whispered. "All of it. Every story, every smile, every connection. It feels like the town has grown tonight, in ways we can't even measure." Elizabeth rested her head against his shoulder, breathing in the crisp night air. "It has," she murmured, "and it will continue to grow as long as we remember what truly matters. Love, compassion, and the courage to open our hearts. That's what Hope Valley has always been. That's what we all carry with us." And so, under the silver glow of the moon, with the stars scattered across the sky like glimmering promises, Hope Valley's family reunion of 2025 drew to a close. Yet the echoes of laughter, the warmth of reconciliations, and the tender sparks of romance lingered, destined to be woven into the town's enduring story. Elizabeth and Nathan, surrounded by the memories of a night that had felt timeless, knew with absolute certainty that this reunion was more than a moment, it was a beginning, a reaffirmation and a celebration of the unbreakable heart of Hope Valley. As they walked home together, hands intertwined, they passed lanterns that had been extinguished but left a lingering glow on the cobblestones. Each flicker of light, each whispered goodbye, and each soft laugh had imprinted itself upon their hearts. And somewhere in the quiet of the valley, the town seemed to whisper its own promise that love, connection, and the true spirit of family would always endure, guiding them forward into the stories yet to be written. The night closed not with an ending, but with the gentle assurance that Hope Valley's heart was eternal, resilient, and ever ready to embrace the joys, trials, and reunions that life would continue to offer. And as Elizabeth and Nathan disappeared into the comforting embrace of their home, the town breathed in the memories of the evening, already anticipating the next chapter in its timeless, boundless story.